is the 40th anniversary of Friday the 13th, the final chapter. The movie came out on this day back in 1984, and this is also the year I was born. I was born 2 months after this movie came out. I was born in June. My memories of the film, which I do own it in the collection. I don't have the Scream Factory box set, but we're going to talk a little bit about the movie itself and what an impact it has left, particularly in the horror movie genre. And it is by far the one of the greatest slashers of all time. Some people will say that it is the greatest sequel in the Friday the 13th franchise. My opinion, I do love this one. I just love the feel. We don't get Steve Miner back. He directed 2 and 3. He also produced the very first film with Sean Cunningham. You got a star-studded cast: a young Corey Feldman, Crispin Glover. You get, of course, the late great Ted White as Jason Voorhees. We'll talk a little bit about that too there with him as to why he did not have his name in the credits. And like these movies, the 8 Paramount movies of the Friday the 13th, they're so interconnected. It's very, very awesome because when you get to the New Line ones, they're like standalone films for Jason. So this one, and everybody knows when you watch the final chapter for the first time, or when you watch it, it recaps the first 3 films, which is awesome. The music is very eerie. Right when you get to the Paramount logo with the mountain and stuff, and the stars around it. And also, I mean, it's so eerie. I also do own the Waxwork Records vinyl of the soundtrack for this film too, which is awesome. I'm just getting the tunes going in my head right now, just thinking about it. You know, man, I mean, you know, where to start? You know, Corey Feldman. This is one of my favorite Corey Feldman films. The other one, perhaps, probably being The Burbs, and The Goonies, of course. But yeah, this time, you know, Jason is being brought back straight to the morgue after the events of Part 3. You do get to see Higgins Haven in the beginning of this. I love the whole pan shot. I love the whole shot where they show the helicopter, and then the light from the helicopter is almost like a beaming down, like a beaming up thing, like from a Star Trek Next Generations type thing. And it's got that very eerie music, like that dreading music. Look at the aftermath of what happened in Part 3, and the the paramedics. It was almost like a parade of paramedics and police on Higgins Haven, and the aftermath, picking up the bodies and stuff like that. And we get there, and we get to the barn, and they pick up. They get Jason, and the one guy says, "This is the guy that. This is the guy that was bleeding the wet stuff or something." This time he got, I think, was like 6 bikers, and he's got 6 kids and 3 bikers or something like that. And as a matter of fact, I might be just watching this movie tonight while I'm watching another live stream from a YouTuber who lives in the area, not in my area, but like up north near the Chicagoland area. So, Sean Cody, he's a really good YouTuber, really awesome YouTuber to watch. Both him and Bad Rican. But anyways, the kills were great. The kills were awesome. My favorite kill in this, there are so many great ones because we got Tom Savini back. He worked on Friday the 13th Part 1, which was awesome. My favorite kill in that whole thing with Part 1 was Marcy's death with the axe to the face. You don't get to see it hit her in the face. You see it the silhouette coming down in the background, and then all of a sudden you see the aftermath of it. But in Friday the 13th, the final chapter, my favorite kill, and there's a lot of them. The whole the Peter Barton death in the shower when he's singing. He's like, oh, 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 and all of a sudden Jason's hand goes right through the glass. window of the shower and just crushes his face. Um, that was a good one. Tia and Kara Moore, the twins, are during this. I'm not sure if it was Tia. I don't know if it was Kara, the one that gets thrown out the window and lands right on top of the station wagon. This is from the second story. Jason grabs her, throws her. She goes airborne, lands right dead center on top of the hood of the station wagon, and all the windows just shatter. And every time I see that scene, it's like home run, or a grand slam, because that's how awesome the impact was. That was pretty much my favorite kill in the film. I think the Axel death was pretty neat, in the morgue. The hitchhiker, the one, that's, eating, right before she gets ready to eat the banana, and she gets stabbed. That was pretty cool. Uh, I think Crispin Glover's death, Jimbo, was really epic. That one with the corkscrew, and then the cleaver to the face after that. That was pretty epic. I think the scariest one of them all would have to be Rob Dyer's death. Oh man, it was, going down in the cellar, going into the house where the kids were staying at, and going down there, and he goes up and he drops. I don't know if it was his knife he dropped or something, and he goes back down and get it, and Jason comes right behind him from under the stairs. That was freaking in. He's yelling, "He's killing me! Run, run, Trish! He's killing me!" And that was scary. I mean, I thought in this movie, Jason was scary. He wasn't scary in 3 or 2. When I first saw the first one when I was a kid, seeing him jump out at Alice in the canoe, I kind of jumped, but that was scary. But he is more menacing in this one than the previous 2 films, and a lot has to do with the reason why Ted White portrayed him, because Ted White and Joe Zito did not get along. They didn't see eye to eye. I did not mention Judy Harrelson's death out there in the raft. That was a really good scene. Then you got her boyfriend Paul that gets shot like right in the groin after he discovers and he's trying to swim fast to the dock. I thought that was really, really painful. I mean, just seeing it. But the whole Judy Harrelson death scene out there, they had to do a retake, and she wanted to get out of the water, and I guess Joe Zito told her no, because then the water's not going to be still if you get out. Uh, and she was starting to freeze, and then Ted White told, I believe how Ted White had said it to Joe Zito, says, "You either get her out of that water now, she's going to be suffering hypothermia, either get her out of that water right now, or I'm walking." And I believe in a couple of interviews of Ted White, he was so pissed at Zito that's the reason why Jason was the way he was in the film, so menacing. I thought that was so cool, but it also it all states that's the reason why he didn't have his name in the credits, is because he didn't want anything to do with the film all those years, before he started like doing the conventions. So yeah, and I think there was one with Peter Barton's death scene. He had an argument too about you had to have a protective wall when you go ahead and do that stunt, and I guess he says, "I'm not." He says, "If you're not going to have any protective padding, I'm not doing the stunt." But yeah, Ted White was somebody you wouldn't want to mess with. I can tell you that right now, and I'm kind of glad that he stood up for what he believed what was right. I mean, Judy Harrelson could have had hypothermia out there in that raft. I mean, thank God, he told him, he says, "You either get her out of this water right now, or I'm walking." But yeah, I think he had the best, between him, Brooker, and Dash at that point. I honestly think it's a tie between Brooker and White, who were the best Jasons in the human form. I love Steve Dash's performance because that was the early Jason with the sack. But I mean, there was just something about Brooker too. I really loved his portrayal. Um, now Mike DeLuna. That's another story there. Mike DeLuna doubled for Brooker in like, I believe only two scenes in all. The one where he actually throws Rick through the body, and then right at the barn where he gets the noose wrapped around his neck and gets hung. That was DeLuna. But anyways, back to the final chapter. Now the thing that I thought was really cool is when he goes in text. After Rob's body gets thrown through the Jarvis house, Tommy like backs up next to the next window, and then Jason just comes up and grabs him and stuff like that. And then I thought the coolest thing is when right after Trish hits him with the hammer, with the claw of the hammer in the neck, they go to run, and then here comes Jason crashing right through the door like a big bomb exploded through the door, and then he decides to throw the hammer. It was almost like the way he threw it, and the hammer went into the wall. It was pretty cool. I think when you get to the effect where Trish cuts off his mask. Even with Tommy, looking at the article, going through the articles of the Jason articles that Rob had in his camping bag, going through them, and he's going upstairs shaving after Trish tells him to leave and stuff like that. He was trying to get Jason psyched up, trying to get him like to remember, something, to remember things, And that scene, like when Trish goes ahead and takes a whack at his face, cuts the straps off the mask, and you see a little bit of the grotesque look after he goes like that, and then he slowly turns around, and then, a great special effects makeup for Jason in this. However, it is a tie with Jason Unmasked in this one and in part 3. I kind of like part 3 a little more because the way he looks in part 3. But final chapter here, Jason looks really grotesque. I like the style that Savini went with, because they were making the kid Jason, into the adult Jason pretty much. Basically, you see some of the strands of the hair and stuff like that, but for the most part, he's bald. You got the one eye. If you pause it in some scenes, in the one scene right, the eye on this side looks like it's looking up. And this eye right here, basically would be on this side when you watch the film, but you can see Ted White's actual eye. I thought that was pretty scary. If you pause it and look at it for a couple minutes, it's like, this is really, really freaky, man. This is really, really scary. He was, Jason in this one was just very, very ruthless, very, very ruthless. He took the one, like I said, the kills were awesome. Even him killing the one twin when she was getting ready to go out in the rain on her bike, the silhouette of him going like this with like a pole or something, and gets her. That was pretty epic right there. Great stuff what Joe Zito did, even though he was, the controversy between him and White on set was something else. But it's a great film. It's great. I love the part when when the gang of kids are on their way to the lake. They're gonna do the skinny dip thing. Well, they're on their way, and then Sarah decides she's gonna go back and get the car. And then when that scene where you see her walking by herself in the wooded area, and it gets so dark in there, you're like, and you got that music going, and you're thinking, is he gonna come out? Is Jason gonna come out and get her right now? I always get kind of like goosebumps when I see that scene sometimes, but I'm also in love of the wooded areas because I, grew up with grandparents that camped and stuff like that, and I've always loved the outdoors and the wilderness, stuff like that. But just that scene right there alone is freaky, but I love it at the same time. the whole Pamela Voorhees tombstone. That was pretty cool. I actually got the NECA from the final chapter, and it's got the tombstone in it. In case you guys don't have the NECA, but it is pretty cool. On Etsy, I know somebody on Etsy has made or makes the Pamela Voorhees tombstone that you can purchase, and it looks like the actual replica of it. I would love to get that thing in here in this entertainment room here. It would be pretty badass. But yeah, I mean everything from start to finish with this film is amazing. I know Ebert and Siskel and Ebert really criticized it. I know Roger Ebert could not stand it. He said, how many more of these cockroach of a movies do they have to make? Another one, a pointless bloodbath and this way and that way. I always love watching some of their vintage reviews on movies, but man, for the Friday the 13th movies, they could not stand them, especially Roger Ebert, though. But, you know, it's hilarious. But you know, I mean, you get, you know, Crispin Glover doing that nutty dance. Two Lions, Love is a Lie. That was epic. I laugh at that scene every single time. It is so funny. And we're talking about, this is right around the time when or this is right around the time when he was going to get ready to shoot Back to the Future, because Back to the Future was in '85. You know, and in actual Back to the Future was actually his next movie that he was doing after this, pretty much. But yeah, I mean that scene was funny. Um, Tommy's room was pretty cool. I love the fact that he was a big into the mask making creature horror aficionado kid. You know, I mean, I thought that was really cool. Something really different. Um, you know, I had no idea that they were going to make it into a Tommy Jarvis trilogy, but the next two films, I thought it was interesting. Uh, I liked all three actors that played Tommy Jarvis, Feldman and Shepard and Matthews. I mean, they were all great. Um, uh, I think the cool thing was Trish Jarvis. Her outfit that she had on, it was an oversized blue shirt. It looked like a dress. I didn't realize it until like years later. Oh, this is she's actually wearing a long, oversized button-down shirt. It's not a dress. I thought that was pretty cool for the time. You know, I mean, I just I was amazed. Um, Gordon, you know, whatever happened to Gordon the dog? You know, after he goes out the top window of the kids' house next door to the Jarvises, and or across from the Jarvises' home. You know, he went up there. I believe he saw Peter Barton's character's body up there, and he just, you know, scared to death, and just jumps out the window. And that was the last we saw of Gordon. So nobody knows whatever happened to Gordon. Nobody knows whatever happened to Trish after this either. Would be nice to know, but um, there is a hidden ending. You do find out, you know, when Mrs. Jarvis comes home from a run. Of course, it's storming and raining. She goes outside in the front, and all of a sudden she goes and turns, and you know she has that distracted look on her face like that, and Jason got her, and we do see we do know that Jason killed her. There's a deleted scene that has her in a bathtub in like a dream sequence, and that does not have any sound whatsoever. But uh, they lost a sound clip for that. But it was a pretty cool effect, you know, a very cool effect. Uh, but you know, yeah, for the most part, I love these films. I've always loved them. I mean, Friday the 13th franchise has been so awesome to me. I mean, it was these were the films that introduced me to horror. Now, I'm not a super die hard horror fan like some horror YouTubers out there are. They like everything. I like certain ones. As you can see back here, we got the Scream stuff back here. But I mean, Friday the 13th is definitely my number one favorite, and it's what got me started. You know, in the horror. You know, liking horror films for that part right there. And it's something that I'll always love, and it's something I'll always remember And I got almost half of the Friday 13th Waxwork vinyls almost done. I'm missing 2, 6, and 5, or you know 2, 5, and 6. I'm missing, but other than that, I mean it's been a blast. Final Chapter is definitely up there. It's not it's not my number one favorite. It's so hard to pick between the first four which one is my number one favorite because all these years it's been number two. I really have loved Part Three. Part Three has been one of my all time favorites. I mean, I've got to meet some of the cast members from some of these films. A couple of two of them from Part One, 1980, Part One. Deborah Hayes, who was Claudette, one of the first kills in the beginning of the original film, and then of course Final Girl, Alice Adrian King, and I got to meet almost the entire cast of Friday 13 Part 2, and then Last Days of the Dead, not this one here, but the one that was in November of last year. I got to meet Tracy Savage, who played Debbie, Larry Zinner, who played Shelley, David Gibbons, who played Chuck, and then Mike DeLuna, who was the second Jason in Part 3, who filled in for Brooker for 2 scenes in that film. I don't know if he did more than that or not, but I met the 4 of them. That was awesome, and I'm kind of so I'm kind of so. I wouldn't say mad or anything, but I know Days of Dead Indianapolis is having a Friday 13 Part 3 reunion, and they added Paul Karaka and Kevin O'Brien. Kevin O'Brien was Loco, one of the members of the biker gang in Part 3, and then Paul Karaka, who played Rick, which was Dana Kimball's character, Chris's boyfriend. They couldn't get them for Chicago's Days of Dead last November, which was a bummer, but hopefully we get them sometimes. It'd be really awesome to add them onto that 11 by 17 inch poster that I have. But I have not met anybody from the Final Chapter. And my vinyl for the Final Chapter, I am going to have signed. And I'm kind of hoping, since today is the 40th anniversary, that we get a 40th anniversary sometime this year or maybe next year at Days of the Dead or Flashback Weekend. We'll have to wait and see. So, yeah. I never got a chance to meet Ted White. I actually would have had a chance to meet him at one of the Flashback Weekends, but there was something that happened. I don't know if it was... I had something going on with my car at the time or what, but I missed out on that opportunity. But, hey, things happen. You're not going to be able to meet everybody from Friday the 13th. You're not going to be able to meet a lot of them because some of them are gone. I mean, I would have loved to have met Betsy Palmer, but, unfortunately she passed away. I got lucky enough to meet Steve Dash. He played Jason in most of the Part 2. He was, most of Jason in that one with the sack over his head. Warrington Gillette I met as well. He was the other one. He played Jason in the scene where he comes in from the window at Jenny in that dream sequence without the sack, that the grotesque face, but yeah. I mean, I've gotten lucky to meet a couple of them. Kane Hodder, Carol Lochtel, who was Ethel in Friday the 13th, the New Beginning. Flashback Weekend had a mini reunion with those guys. Her, Melanie Kinnaman, Deborah Voorhees, Dick Wayland, Ron Stallone. And I didn't meet Ron Stallone or Dick Wayland because I didn't, have enough money to meet all of them. I wasn't, I wanted to get the most important ones, and I knew right away after I met like Deborah Voorhees, I was like, I was originally going to meet Dick Wayland, and I'm like, something told me I better meet Carol Lochtel. Something just told me that, and I met her. It was fun. I went up there and I told her thanks for all the laughs for being in Friday the 13th, the New Beginning, all the laughs, and about I think it was like a year after that she passes. So same thing with Steve Dash. He was a bad diabetic. He had to have surgery. He had to have one of his legs amputated. and then shortly after the surgery, he started having complications, and then he passed. I would have loved to met Brooker as well, and Ted White. I got to meet Ken Kirzinger, Jason from Freddy vs. Jason. He was awesome. Some people didn't like his version, but you got to understand. I'm going to do a whole different video on that one too. Everybody that came before Ken Kirzinger, even though he did a couple scenes as Jason in Jason Takes Manhattan, everybody that played Jason before him, and even you look at Derek Mears as well, they all portrayed the character differently. And I know there was things about Ronnie Yu wanted a taller guy. Originally, Kane Hodder was going to be in Freddy vs. Jason as Jason. That would have been awesome to see that. I mean, him and Robert Englund as the two iconic characters, going at it. And I know Kane was so hyped up for it and ready to go, but fortunately that didn't happen, which sucks. But I'm when I met Kirzinger, I thought that was awesome. So I went and I told him, this is one of my favorite versions of Jason. And, Freddy vs. Jason's a fun movie. I mean, you got to think about it. I'm not a big Nightmare on Elm Street fan. The only Elm Street films I really liked are 1 and 2, 2 being my favorite of Nightmare on Elm Street. That's Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's Revenge. That's my favorite one. I like that actually over the original, but I do love the original as well. But, my favorite Robert Englund performances as Freddy is Nightmare 2, Nightmare 1, and Freddy vs. Jason. I'm 50-50 on Dream Warriors, because that's when you start getting into the comical stuff. But Freddy was funny in Freddy vs. Jason as well. But other than that, Friday the 13th Final Chapter, guys, definitely a great movie. I am definitely going to go ahead and get ready to end this live stream here. I'm probably going to pop this sucker in and watch it and just have some good fun tonight. Celebrating the 40th anniversary. My birthday's in June here, so I was born the same year as the movie came out, but 2 months after that, so I'll be 40 here on June 10th. Looking really forward to that. It's just amazing how far films have come, and stuff like that. And who knows when we're ever going to get another Friday the 13th film. There's been talks too with the Peacock Crystal Lake series that's supposed to be going to be filming this summer. Haven't heard anything more about it before the whole writer's strike happened. When the whole writer's strike happened, we never heard anything much about it. So all I know is Adrian King is attached to it, and I think Kevin Williamson is writing one of the episodes. But yeah, let me know what did you like? What did you think about Friday the 13th Final Chapter? Did you like it? What is your favorite character? My favorite character besides Tommy Jarvis and Jason would have to be Kimberly Beck, Trish Jarvis. Favorite kill would have to be the twin that gets thrown up from the top balcony in the house and lands on the station wagon and busts all the windows. I thought that was really epic. But yeah, that is it. And of course, you got the Crispin Glover nutty dance, which I love. I always laugh at that. That gets me laughing all the time. But other than that, guys, that is it. You guys stay safe, and I'll be back here with some more videos. Take care, and you guys have a great night.